It is a pleasure to have you to join us today for this celebration. Before we begin, we will hear from the Grammy award-winning singing McMain Mustangs. You guys join us and give them a round of applause.
Thank you so very much. Give our scholars another round of applause. So I'm just so super excited to have you all here. So thank you for taking the time to be here today. As Courtney mentioned, it's summertime, and I know we're all extremely busy, and there are many, many places that we could be, but I appreciate you choosing to be here to help me celebrate my 1-year anniversary, as well as to share the state of NOLA Public Schools. So good morning, and thank you for joining me on this beautiful summer day. One of the things that I really want to lean in on is what Courtney said. I am the first female permanently appointed to this position in 182 years. 181 from my appointment, yes. Thank you. And I feel incredibly humbled and honored to be here. And I thank the Orleans Parish School Board for choosing me and for giving me this unprecedented opportunity. I want to take a moment to just acknowledge the importance of that milestone, not only for me, but for any young people who are watching, and especially any young girls who look like me. Did you know that nationally, over 70% of teachers are women? Yet, as we move up the rank for leadership, only about 24% of superintendents are women, and only 1.4% of those total are Black women. And so it does not escape me the fact that I'm standing in this position is a rarity, and that's unfortunate. I want to be a role model for young people so that they know, work hard with the support of your family and community, and great things can happen. And I want to be a testament to that, and I want to make sure that I use my voice to lift up those statistics and be a part of the change that happens, because there's a lot to be gained from women in leadership. And I'm biased because I'm one, but I do believe that that's the truth. And when we think about the vast number of women who are actually in education, we've got to all do our part to make sure that women's voices are being lifted, because it is important for our young people to see that level of inclusivity. And it's important for us to do that for all students. So over the past year, I've had the privilege of getting to know and to serve with many amazing people, many of whom are in this room. And I'm going to be recognizing groups and individuals. And I want to say right out the gate that if I don't mention you, please charge it to my head and not my heart or my talking points. In either way is fine. Because when I say grateful, I cannot express to you how grateful I am to all of the groups. So to my NOLA PS team, thank you for believing in me, supporting me, and working together through this last year. It's been a journey, and it's been a lot of learning and engagement. And we've set the stage to do some amazing work together. So give my team a big round of applause, please. And you guys know my core values are equity, excellence, and joy. And one of the things I love about working with our NOLA PS team is that I'm able to lean into each of those core values. But none of this work would be possible, none of what we do to help young people succeed would be possible without our elected officials. And I want to particularly lift up the Orleans Parish School Board. Yes. They play such a vital role as it relates to developing policy, securing legislation, and funding that's necessary for us to do the work that we do for the children of our community. And so I want to lift up our board members, and if you're here, you can stand or raise your hand or however you want to be recognized, but I do want to recognize you. First, Board President Olin Parker. Board Vice President Carlos Zervagan. Mrs. Leela Eames. Ethan Ashley, Dr. Donaldo Batiste, Nolan Marshall, and Katie Baldwin. And I just want to say personally that I appreciate each and every one of you for what you bring to our organization, to the community, and for the support that you've provided me over the last year. And I look forward to a long relationship with you. I also want to thank city officials who have been invaluable in terms of the work, starting with Mayor LaToya Cantrell and her team. Our city council members, and if you're here, raise your hand or stand. J.P. Morrell, Helena Moreno, Joseph Jerusa, Freddie King, Eugene Green, Leslie Harris, and last but not least, Oliver Thomas. I've had the pleasure of working with and getting to know many of our state officials, including Senator Joseph Bowie, Senator Gary Carter Jr., Senator Royce Duplessis, Senator Jimmy Harris, and Senator Sharon Hewitt. Also our state representatives, Representative Delisha Boyd, Representative Matt Cormier, Representative Amy Freeman, Representative Ray Garofalo, Representative Stephanie Hilferty, Representative Jason Hughes, Alonzo Knox, Mandy Landry, Candace Newell, Matthew Willard, and of course our own U.S. Congressman Troy Carter. And thank you for everybody who clapped, like for everyone. Thank you. I also want to recognize our amazing partners. And when I tell you this work would not be possible without our partners, and I've got a long list of partners here, and I'm not going to name all of them, but just wanted to lift up a few, starting off with New Schools for New Orleans. And see Dana Peterson is here. LAPCS, I'm not sure if LAPCS is here, but definitely appreciate their partnership as well. Want to lift up DFER. I don't know if, there we go. BNOLA, UTNO, our teachers union. Let's see, we've got Step Up Louisiana. Enjoyed working with you all as well. The Cowan Institute. We've got GNO Inc., Ganaf, we've got a lot of G&Os, right? And all of the business entities that have allowed me to share the work of NOLA Public Schools and who have partnered with us in this great work. Also want to give a shout out to PJ's Coffee. For any of you all who came on the ABC tour, it was called Dr. Avis's Beignets and Conversation, and we could not have done the beignets without you, and so we are eternally grateful for that, and I hope you guys had some coffee and beignets this morning. Want to thank Troy Duhan, who owns Toyota, and we've got our perfect attendance car winner here, and McKaylin, stand up McKaylin, it's fine. Yes. I always like to recognize our scholars because, that's what we're here for. So if I didn't call your name, just know that we've got so many amazing partners, and I'm eternally grateful to each and every one of them for the work that they do and for supporting, listening, giving feedback along the way. I also want to give a shout out to my transition team and advisory council members and any other committees that folks have served on. If you've served on any of our committees or teams over the last year, please stand and be recognized. Because again, this could not be done without your input. Again, many of you know that my core values are equity, excellence, and joy. And when I did my initial 100-day plan, it was written through the lens of those core values. And today I want to share the progress that we've made to this point and also give a forecast of what's ahead. And much like my 100-day plan, this will be done also through the lens of those core values. So we're going to start off with equity. And for me, equity is about removing barriers and providing access. And so when we think about that through the lens of the work that we do, I cannot overstate how important it is that we pay close attention to mental health and wellness. And so one of the things that we were able to accomplish in partnership with Children's Hospital as well as Thrive Kids and the City of New Orleans is a $10 million investment towards mental health so that we're able to provide school-based mental health for our scholars while also providing connected services for families. And this was huge. One of the things that I learned early on, even before starting this role, is how much we needed to really pay closer attention to healing, to mental health, to wellness, and to self-care. And you'll hear this throughout my address today in terms of other opportunities that we've had for that. But that $10 million investment is certainly one that we look forward to. This partnership will establish long-term systems of support for our schools as well as our families. One of the things that we know as educators is that we love on our babies while they're at school, but then they go home. And so we've got to have those connected services that are also supporting families at home. And that's what I'm excited about as it relates to this partnership with Thrive Kids. Now, when you think about equity, you can't say that we're doing equity work if you don't have someone who is taking the lead and stepping up to own that space. And I am so grateful to Sam Pichon, who is our Executive Director for Equity for the NOLA Public Schools. Yes. She has already gotten started. She started off doing a lot of research because, what does it mean? What does it mean to say that we offer educational equity? How do we unpack that in terms of our policies, in terms of our practices? So she did begin with lots of research looking at promising practices from other districts and other spaces, but also digging into our data. And one of the things that we realized as we dug deep into our data is that we do have some equity issues. We have some major issues that we need to tackle through a task force. And so she's already formed a task force where we will be looking at the application process for our schools that require, that have academic requirements, and looking at ways to make that process more equitable. How do we ensure that more Black and brown students are in those seats. We call them high-quality seats sometimes. So how do we make sure that our policies aren't the barrier, that our practices aren't the barrier? So I do look forward to sharing more about that work as we progress through the year, but want to give a shout out to the team that's on that equity task force and the work that they've already started in terms of the conversations we've had and the thinking that we're doing about the data that we will need to interrogate. Also, this year, I was extremely grateful to the help of DFER for being able to host the first Hispanic Town Hall meeting. And y'all, this was one of the most amazing experiences of my career. We oftentimes talk about inclusion, and one of the things that we had to take a closer look at is how inclusive are we really, and especially as it relates to language inclusion. And so one of the things that we know for sure is that we've got a number of different languages within our community and within our schools, with Spanish being a predominant one. And so during this town hall, it was an opportunity for our Hispanic families to come, and we honored them by making sure that the entire town hall was done in Spanish. If you did not speak Spanish, you wore headphones and you had the interpreter. And it was very valuable to hear some of the challenges that our families face and the suggestions. This was a listening session, so I did not really give a whole lot of input or feedback. Took a lot of notes and paid real close attention to what was being said, because I wanted to make sure that when we come back for future convenings that it will be with the idea of taking some action based on what was shared. The data center analysis from the U.S. Census Bureau from Census 2000 said that the population estimates for the Hispanic population is growing at a rate at about 45% within our community. And so this is something that we have to lean into, especially if we're serious about diversity, equity, and inclusion for our families and for our students that we serve. And so we look forward to continuing the work with DFER and also working with our school leaders to ensure that our English language programs, newcomer programs are in place to support our families. Also, when we think about equity, we know funding is always a concern. And so we're grateful to have the System-Wide Needs Program led by Dr. Kelly Jordan. And she loves system-wide needs planning and writing those documents, don't you, Kelly? Yeah, that was her joy for the better part of this past school year. And she did an amazing job in collaboration with our school leaders and teams. And so as we think about what our schools need from a system-wide standpoint, the funding from this helps support it. So whether we're talking about trauma-informed practices, if we're talking about teacher recruitment and retention, teacher training, those are things that we can do using those system-wide needs funds. And so one area of focus is specialized programming. And with an investment of $10 million over 3 years, we can use this to provide alternative learning for our middle schoolers. And doing this through the Bridge, operated by Educators for Quality Alternatives, EQA, one of our amazing networks. And in addition to more mental health and attendance supports, also services for our English learners and support for career and technical education. All of which makes for a well-rounded education for our scholars. So when we think about using those system-wide needs funds, it's about honing in on some of the challenges that are impacting our entire community. I mean, we know that our schools are different, our networks are different, but there are some common needs that we can support. And this also includes forecasting minimum foundation programming funds, or MFP, for schools. And we project that the state tax contribution to slightly decline over the coming years, and we know that those system-wide needs funds will be one way that we help support that funding as it changes over the years. Also, we took a real close look at our enrollment system and our website. And this is an ongoing piece. I think most of you have probably heard me talk about our enrollment system. During the ABC tour meetings, I don't think I could have a conversation without the enrollment system being part of what was lifted up as a challenge. And so one of the things that we did was form a solution circle around enrollment and really try to unpack some of the challenges. We looked at what we could change immediately, that low-hanging fruit that we often call it, and made some immediate changes in terms of signage, in terms of hours, in terms of language, language, and so forth. But we also knew that the enrollment system itself would need to be addressed. So as we complete the enrollment process this year, we're continuing to look at that data and to make sure that we're paying close attention to what's working well and what's not. So when we get the challenges that parents are facing, we take that very seriously as we consider how we do a better job with our enrollment system. For this current upcoming school year, early childhood is also included in our enrollment system, and this is new, and this is a change. And I do think that we have some kinks that we'll be working out along the way as it relates to that, but it is a great opportunity for our families interested in that quality pre-K to be able to use the same system that they'll ultimately use when their children are in K-12. I want to share a couple of statistics with you thus far. We've received just under 9,000 applications so far as new K-12 placements. And keeping in mind that not everybody has to enroll. If you're in a grade level that you're moving up to from 3rd to 4th grade, for example, in the same school, then there's not a need for those families to reapply. So 95% of sibling applicants were matched to their sibling schools. So we do have what we call sibling preference. And so we've been able to do that in the vast majority of cases. Also, 95% of kindergarten and 9th grade applicants seeking a new placement received one, with 93% receiving one of their top 3 choices. So when we think about kindergarten and 9th grade, those are transition years, and kindergarten, of course, being the start, and 9th grade, where most of our scholars are moving from a K-8 school into a high school. So we definitely prioritize those 2 particular years. And then, as I mentioned, the early childhood is also a part of this system. And so we were looking at the applicants, and more than 2,200 of our applicants were eligible for their first choice. And I say it like that because different programs have different criteria for the early childhood eligibility. But in terms of our applications, 99% of sibling applicants were matched with their sibling school. So in other words, if Big Brother is in 3rd grade at a school and we've got pre-K there, in 99% of the instances where that was requested, we were able to ensure that happened. 54% of applicants received their top choice. And this is something that we'll continue to work on to make sure that we are given adequate choice for our families. 73% of applicants received one of their top 3 choices. And again, we'll continue to make sure that we are communicating well with our families about those early childhood choices, as well as the benefit of early childhood. And I'm a Head Start baby myself, and I can really attribute a lot of what I've been able to do and know to getting that early start of learning. And the good news is, during my ABC tour, the community really spoke up about this, and we listened, and we're continuing to listen because we're not done yet. In addition to the enrollment system, we also had the early childhood millage. And of course, I can't take any credit for this because this was happening before I got here, but a shout out to this entire community for coming together around that millage. And pre-K and high quality pre-K is so crucial as it relates to those early literacy skills and learning. Researchers at Georgetown found that Tulsa's universal pre-K program has led to increased college enrollment rates, fewer missed school days, fewer retentions, and greater coursework in terms of advanced classes like advanced placement and IB. Researchers at MIT found that Boston's preschool program led to a decrease in behavioral issues in high school, increased in the likelihood that students would take the SAT by 8.5% and graduate from high school, increased the likelihood of graduating by about 6%. So there's a lot of research about the benefits and the value of early childhood, and we're certainly excited to know that we've got the funding available to continue to expand our early childhood footprint within our city. And we play a very important role for this, not only just from the enrollment standpoint, but we manage this enrollment for all of the free seats within our community. And it's an investment that's worthwhile because we know that this is where the learning begins for our scholars. Yeah. So one of the things that was put on my plate right out the gate was about truancy and chronic absenteeism. And so I did attend a press conference with the mayor and a number of other city leaders last fall, and also attended working groups where we were digging deep. We've still got work to do. You know, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is data. One of my Avisisms is, in God we trust, all others bring data. And we were a little bit low on data starting out, especially as it relates to root causes for absenteeism. And those are things that we will continue to work on. But we're committed to addressing the issue of truancy collaboratively and in partnership with all of our stakeholders, including our scholars and our families. But the root causes are going to be something that's going to really drive some of the solutions that we develop as we move forward. Family, community, and community partner engagement is key, and we cannot do that work alone. This is a us problem, and it's something that we all have to be willing to lean into and make sure that as we're looking at it through the lens of the whole child. We want our scholars to attend school so that they can learn, but we also want to ensure that their social and emotional and wellness needs are taken care of also. One of the things that we did as part of this was community canvassing, and just literally going to business and say, hey, if a student looks like they should be in school, encourage them to go there. Let us know if you're seeing underage children during the day, trying to make a purchase at your school or trying to work. And we understand that many of our families need everyone in the household to work. We get that. And we also know that without that high quality education, the trajectory of those families will be very slow to change as it relates to the wealth gap and moving out of poverty. Chronic absenteeism is defined as missing 10% or more of school days. And that's a number that triggers a lot of negative outcomes as it relates to our students. Children living in poverty, communities of color, and those with disabilities are disproportionately affected by chronic absenteeism. And that's the majority of our school district as it relates to the poverty piece and children of color. Families are essential partners in this work as it relates to promoting good attendance and setting expectations for our children. And I want to lift up Michaelan again because he had perfect attendance, y'all. Give him another round of applause. Did you drive your car here? Did you drive it here? Okay. It's at home. Okay. And Michaelan is going to LSU this fall. It's studying finance, and we are just so super proud of him. Yes, that deserves another round of applause. When we had the car giveaway, we had a little over 40 students, I believe, that were there, and a few more than that were eligible. And I was so impressed with the number who had had perfect attendance for 4 years. That's overwhelming to me. So we love that. And at the same time, we want to encourage the best attendance that families can give, because life happens, right? And we understand that even if you cannot have the perfect attendance, have good attendance and make sure that school is a priority. Also, during the course of this year, in terms of equity, we looked at mental health and did a presentation in September with the City Council. I want to thank Councilman Giarrusso for really focusing on mental health, and I did present the district's four-prong approach during that meeting, which includes district support services to students and families, professional development for schools and district staff, investment in system-wide programming, and then also our NOLA PS Cares program that we'll be launching in the fall. And so the district recognizes the problems and is looking for viable solutions as it relates to prioritizing the well-being of our students. And we can't do that without Medicaid. And so improving schools' access to Medicaid has also been a space that we've begun to leverage, and really thinking strategically about how to improve access to mental health services at school via school-based Medicaid. Funding for this project came via Councilmember Joe Giarrusso and NSNO for the first phase of the NOLA PS work as it relates to this. And it's a landscape analysis that we're looking at so that we can begin to get to problem solving. Improving schools' ability to bill for eligible services can increase the number of staff members to provide services by offsetting costs via school-based Medicaid. And this is important for our schools to be able to do that, and super grateful to our partners who have made that possible. And I told y'all you were going to hear a lot about mental health today. The Mental Health Collaborative has been an additional space that we've leaned into. And I participated in this new United Way group called the Mental Health Collaborative. And it just simply aims to address mental health, behavioral health, and the crisis that we have within our city. And Dr. Avegno has been amazing about providing the data around this and making sure that we do view the crime that's happening in our city, the trauma that our families experience as a crisis. And through this group, we are looking at solutions. We know that within our city, homicide is the second leading cause of pregnancy-associated deaths in Louisiana. Homicide is the leading cause of death in children in New Orleans. In 2022, 45 black men ages 18 to 24 were victims of homicide, 1 in every 218. And that's 70 times higher than the national average. And so we have to be intentional about looking at mental health and addressing what we have happening in our community as a crisis. And I'm grateful for the United Way and NSNO and Councilman Geruso for prioritizing that and pulling people together so that we have the right people at the table to begin having those discussions. Moving to excellence. Excellence is really all about delivering on our promise to ensure that we prepare every student to be successful beyond high school. That's what we're here for. And so one of the things that I'm really excited about is reimagining our strategic plan. And what this means is we took the strategic plan that was approved back in 2021 and looked at it for the value that it absolutely had, knowing that there had been a good amount of engagement happening prior to the plan being approved, and knowing that there was no reason to start completely over. And that's why we call it reimagining the strategic plan. And so with a strong foundation already built, we took the pillars and we fleshed them out. We've had some additional engagement and made sure that we lifted up 4 specific pillars for that strategic plan. Effective and connected communications, and this is about being clear, consistent, and transparent. High-quality schools, providing a high-quality school environment for all of our scholars that prioritizes the whole child. Student, staff, and community well-being, and again, really looking at our diverse stakeholders and making sure that we're improving outcomes across the board. And then operational excellence, and this is just about driving to ensure that we have the most healthy and sustainable conditions for long-term viability within our organization. Another piece that we leaned in on is excellence in authorizing. And as authorizers within the New Orleans School District, we wanted to make sure that we were looking at promising practices, effective practices from a national lens as well as a state lens. And so several of us did complete an excellence in authorizing cohort. And the fellows who completed it had targeted professional development, and we were recognized at the June Bessie meeting for that. And our cohort included Dr. Fatima Fulmore, our Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Shayla Guidry, our Chief for Supports, Paige Jackson, and Lise McCarver, and Raphael Simmons from our Portfolio Innovation and Accountability team, and me. And it was a really great experience for us to just really be able to have some deeper conversations about what does it look like to improve school quality through the authorizing process. Also, one thing that I am so excited about it is our portrait of a graduate. And this is what we look at as our North Star. And Dr. Fatima Fulmore, our amazing Deputy Superintendent, has led this. And it's been a collaborative effort. Our board approved it at a recent board meeting. And this is all about looking at post-secondary readiness skills so that our scholars are prepared for those high-wage, high-skilled jobs now and in the future. And so we landed at several tenets for this, to include skilled and confident communicators, leaders, creative, critical, and analytical thinkers, healthy human, solution seekers, resilient achievers and continuous learners, and ethical, global, and cultural citizens. And so this is a structure that's intended for all grade levels, and we want to ensure that we're graduating well-rounded students. So, we're looking at what does that look like in second grade for each of those areas? What does it look like in 10th grade for each of those areas? Because, again, we want our scholars to not only have the life skills that they need to be successful, but also to be prepared for high-skill, high-wage, high-demand jobs. I got the third H in there that time. Of the 21st century, these are careers that may not even exist yet. And we know this to be the case, and so we want to ensure that when the time comes, our scholars are prepared. And the portrait of a graduate is our contribution to doing so. Next is our 5-year portfolio plan. And this is ongoing work, and it's about creating and communicating a 5-year plan that basically tells the story of our district's portfolio. And it's done through the lens of quality, quantity, choice, and variety. And we have a team that's been working on this, and one of the things that I look forward to is producing the initial report next spring. And so this will be ongoing work as we lean into those, and then after that, it'll be an annual portfolio management process and an annual report that will be produced in the spring of each year. And the goal is just to make our portfolio of schools as robust as possible. So we're not only meeting the needs of our individual students and families, but also the needs of workforce development in our community. Next is our advisory councils and community engagement, which also includes the Charter School Accountability Framework and a House bill that we were able to successfully move forward this year. In terms of advisory councils, I have several that we formed this year, including families. We had one for our scholars as well as the business community. And with each of the advisory councils, the goal was for me to begin by just sharing my story, starting off with much of what was shared during the ABC tour, but then also a listening session to find out more about what our stakeholders need and expect from us. And it was a great opportunity for me to engage various stakeholders and look forward to putting many of the things that we discuss in action as we move forward. Community engagement during my first 100 days, of course, I did have my Dr. Avis's beignets and conversation meetings, engaging many families, and had more than 30 ABC tour meetings, and some meetings weren't that, but I turned them into that because we ended up talking about what's happening with the district and what the vision that I see as the new superintendent for that. And as an outcome of that, I mentioned solution circles a bit ago. We did form 2 solution circles, one looking at school quality and one looking at enrollment. And within both of those, again, diverse stakeholders really weighing in on what they see as working well and some areas that we need to improve upon. That's going to be an ongoing thing. But also, as I mentioned, with the enrollment one, which was the first one that we completed, we were able to go ahead and start making some changes. So making the family resource centers more accessible and making sure that we shifted the hours to accommodate for families. And those were some of the pieces that we saw as low-hanging fruit that we could change immediately, but then also making sure that we're paying close attention to the technical pieces that families may be concerned about and other issues that might be a matter of clarity or transparency on our part. The Charter School Accountability Framework, we are prioritizing this and looking at board approval early fall, and it will be implemented in the fall of next year. And this is just to provide a more complete picture of school performance and progress, so that we're digging a little bit deeper in terms of what schools are sharing with us and what counts in terms of accountability. We're also looking to enhance the district's capacity to support schools through an accountability lens and provide clear information for our families and other stakeholders regarding school quality. So you'll definitely be hearing more about this as we move forward, and again, implementation of that will start in fall of '24. House Bill 78 was drafted and passed, so my first legislative session, it was only one bill that we pushed forward, but I can say 100% of the bills that we pushed forward under my leadership passed. And so this was Act 55 is about updating school facilities preservation program to ensure that programs like our New Orleans Career Center can also receive the same type of funding that we use for schools, because typically a program didn't count as a cost center, and so there were limitations in the type of funds that we could use. And so we're excited to be able to treat our Career Center as a school, because it is. And some of you were there yesterday where we had the ribbon cutting of the new building, the Dr. Alice G. Say it again. Hip, hip, hooray. Thank you. I was testing y'all to see if y'all remembered. We had a good time with the ribbon cutting yesterday. And this change allows the district to fund central office personnel who oversee the system-wide needs program, because that program doesn't oversee itself, and Dr. Jordan can speak to that. It's time-consuming if we're going to do it well, and so we'll be able to make sure that that's funded. Also within excellence, district optimization, school facilities master plan, as well as our school facility preservation millage. So district optimization, we know that our community is getting smaller, right? We're losing population, which means that we're having fewer students within our school district. And so as we engage in district optimization, we do that one way through our siting process. So more than 1,900 scholars will be in higher quality schools for the 23-24 school year because of the siting process. And yeah, thank you. I think that's worth applauding. And a couple of things took place this year to that end. The new Cohen facility, which will now be led by Collegiate Academies. Elon is moving to the Rosenwald building. Yeah, I see you back there, Dr. Melanie. and into a much higher quality facility. Morris Jeff will move into the France building. The International High School will go to Dent, and Plessy will go to McDonough 42 for a temporary move as we make repairs to that facility. And school consolidations and closures have happened this year, and they will continue to happen as long as this decrease and decline of population is in place. But we want to make sure we're being thoughtful and strategic about it as those decisions are made, and ensure that there's transparency regarding the plans as we move forward. Also want to be open to answering questions about it, especially for the schools where they're most impacted. We had a number of meetings around surplus properties this past spring, and the purpose of this was to share with the community about the properties that were either surplus or were likely to be surplus as we move forward. We had 4 public meetings regarding our strategy, and the strategy basically proposed a set of criteria for the decision making in terms of how we manage these property. We had more than 120 people attend and received more than 160 surveys weighing in on the information. And the feedback included affordable housing, including for teachers. So what would it look like for us to leverage our properties for affordable housing for our teachers? Used for educational purposes in general. You know, there are a lot of needs that we can help fulfill by using our facilities. Keep ownership due to cultural factors, which I think is absolutely valuable. And then wanting to be kept abreast of proposed strategies and allowing for community input. Those were some of the highlights of the feedback that we received. Also, our school facilities master plan is something that's certainly an area of celebration, and enjoyed celebrating the completion of a total of 89 school buildings in New Orleans that basically came to life thanks to our school facilities master plan. The plan was adopted in November of 2008 after the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, which left 110 of our public schools and 126 schools in general either severely damaged or destroyed. 15 years later, the OPSB and the Recovery School District leaders, along with former U.S. Senator Mary Landrieu, FEMA, and the community, were able to celebrate the completion of the largest school rebuilding program in history. And this included 32 brand new schools, 17 renovated schools, and 31 refurbished schools, and also includes upgrades like making sure schools are energy efficient by using LEED certified standards, and making sure that the maintenance is there as it relates to keeping the buildings. And regarding the maintenance of the buildings, the OPSB and RSD collaborated on a tax plan, and in 2014, voters approved a millage renewal that dedicated future funds to preserving recent investment in school buildings, which leads to the next point, which is our school facility preservation millage. This millage will lapse in 2024, and so we are pushing out a campaign that you'll be hearing a lot about this fall, where we're looking for a millage renewal. And it's not a new tax, it's just a renewal so that we can have long-range planning. We're looking for a 20-year millage renewal, and this is a way for us to ensure that long-range capital planning is actually possible. And again, not a new tax. The funds received since 2014 have been used to retire facility debt and also to invest in facility preservation. And we look forward to being able to do that if this millage is approved on October 14th this fall. And it is projected to raise $420 million that we can invest in our existing schools, so that the beautiful facilities that we see today can be maintained as we move forward in the future, because that's what our scholars deserve. Yay. And that's a good time for applause. I'm going to have a sip of water and move to joy. And joy, of course, is one of my core values. And joy is not just about optimism. You know, sometimes when people think about joy, they think about rose-colored glasses, like you're not being realistic. And I oftentimes say people think that joy is soft. Y'all, joy is hard. I mean, you know the world we live in, and it takes a lot to be able to maintain that joy, recognizing small wins and remaining steadfast, knowing that there are better days ahead. And when I think about better days ahead, it's about community. It's about the partnerships and the collaboration that we have together. And so starting off with partnerships, we drive our best outcomes when we engage our scholars, our families, and the community. I shared earlier that we partnered with key stakeholders like the mayor's office, city council, the children's hospital, Thrive Kids, Agenda for Children, and many other stakeholders as we addressed chronic absenteeism, truancy, mental health and trauma, safety within our community and our schools, early childhood education, and many other factors that we know contribute to quality of life. When I think of joy, I also think of quality of life. You know, what do we offer our families and community that lends themselves to people wanting to stay here and to be here? Community partners, again, such as Troy Duhan from Premier Automotive. He played a vital role in somebody's life, McKaylin, because that stay in school program, it really matters. You know, it aligns with our priorities of addressing chronic absenteeism and truancy, and then it gives scholars something to work towards. And I'm sure McKaylin can attest to that it was worth it, right? Also lifting up student voice as a means for really leaning into joy. We're committed to making sure that our scholars have a voice, whether it's our student advisories or the Talk Soup program that Courtney and I led. We worked with students from Edna Carr as well as MLK and gave them a seat at the table to talk to us about what they need. And one of the main things that they shared was about mental health and wellness. They talked about social media and the impact that social media has on their life. And we talked about problem solving. We look forward to continuing to amplify the voices of our scholars through podcasts, advisories, and other avenues for student engagement, and so that our students can be engaged in the work that we do. Also, as it relates to joy, we want to make sure that our team members are prepared because there's nothing worse than having a job and not having the support, the resources, the skill set that you need. And so our Special Education Resource Fair, the third annual Dr. Rosalind B. Dennis Fitness Challenge, both of those were key to joy. With the Resource Fair, this is an annual event where we make sure that our educators know about the valuable resources within our community, and they're there. They're able to engage to find out what our schools need and to make sure that they're able to provide the resources and supports. And it features all of our local organizations and groups that support our special education services and needs. The third annual Dr. Rosalind B. Dennis Fitness Challenge, and I think y'all know I'm a runner, and I love making sure that when we talk about whole child, whole educators, that we're talking about it from a academic as well as a physical standpoint. And so NOLA Public Schools received a $25,000 grant from Special Olympics Louisiana for the Rosalind B. Dennis Fitness Challenge. And the funds supported the challenge, which does a really great job of promoting inclusion, healthy eating, and physical fitness. Now, beignets don't count, okay? So, yeah, they're healthy, okay? The grant also provided awards for scholars who excelled during the challenge, and the Special Olympics has given a total of $44,000 to our district this school year, this previous school year. The fitness challenge involved 1,100 scholars across 28 of our district schools. So I'm excited to know that we had folks who really leaned into fitness and making sure that they're staying healthy. Also, we had our Teacher and Student of the Year finalists. Now, this brings me joy. I love celebrating excellence, and when we can do this within our own ranks, it's amazing. So our Teacher of the Year finalists, Mr. Richard Martin. Yes. We are so proud of you. You represent well, and definitely know that you help build students' confidence in the classroom and on stage, and you're amazing in terms of the work that you provide at the Willow School. We're also proud of our Student of the Year finalist, William Zai. Is William here? I don't think I saw William, but we enjoyed celebrating him at our board meetings this year, and we want to congratulate him and wish him well. He's headed to the University of Pennsylvania for nursing, healthcare management, dual degree in those two. So congratulations to William. Yes. Also, we have National Board certified teachers within our ranks, y'all. And for those of you who don't know about National Board, it's like the bar exam. And then some, because it really takes a lot of dedication and heart for teachers who choose to pursue this and who choose to renew it. So I want to congratulate Susan Kessler, Rachel Becker, and Christine Bornhorst within our NOLA Public Schools for achieving this amazing accomplishment. And they were also recognized at a Bessie board meeting. And this certification shows a deep commitment to student learning and the teaching profession. And again, it's like the bar exam, so certainly celebrate and commend our amazing teachers for the work that they've done. NOLA, yeah, that's good. NOLA PS Cares and the Hub. NOLA PS Cares. Cares is our community access to resources and equity. I look forward to launching this where we're going to really lean into several areas. Initially, we were just thinking mental health and wellness, but I mentioned earlier about quality of life. And so rather than just mental health and wellness, we will focus on that, but we're also going to focus on literacy because we know that if our scholars are readers, they can be leaders, right? And when I say that, I'm talking intergenerational. So what do we need to do to support literacy at home, as well as supporting our teachers who may need support with professional learning and professional development? Teaching reading is hard, and I'm grateful that we've got the science of reading resources that we have, but even with that, our teachers still need the support and encouragement. Also, social justice. Really excited to be able to give our scholars a platform for social justice. And we've got some really exciting things coming up this fall around podcasting, around opportunities for our scholars to consider what are the challenges within our community through the lens of social justice, and then work on solving those problems so that they can, again, not only have a seat at the table, but be leaders in the work within our community. And so super excited about this, and I'm going to say a word that you're probably going to hear later, Blairisms, and that's just dropping a little hint about the work that we have ahead around social justice. Yes. And then the final piece is workforce development, and just making sure, again, our scholars are prepared to engage in work that matters. And when we think about achievement gaps, I like to lean into the wealth gap. And if we can improve workforce development and make sure our scholars are prepared to move into jobs that move them out of poverty, then I think that's a step in the right direction. The Hub. A few months ago, I was at Caddo Parish in Shreveport, and they had a building called that they called the Harbor, and it's just a space for wraparound services, all things wraparound services. And so we're excited about leaning into this as it relates to having a one-stop shop for our families, and where they can apply for jobs, they can get information about benefits. If they have an issue of being unhoused, they've got resources and services and supports for that. We're going to initially look at this at our Mahalia Jackson Family Resource Center and just really flesh that out a bit more so that those resources and supports are there for our families. And we will be looking for partners for this, so you'll definitely be hearing more about this and the partnerships that are necessary as it relates to the Hub. And then finally, our Joyful Educator Collaborative. Now, this is something that I'm super excited about leaning into this fall. Y'all, our teachers are our greatest asset, okay, as it relates to improving outcomes for our scholars. We cannot do this work without having effective teachers. But one thing I like just as much as effective teachers is happy teachers, right? Those teachers who feel supported and who are encouraged to do a good job through motivation and support and being valued. When you talk to teachers, it's hard being a teacher right now. It's not new that education gets blamed for everything, but I think teachers have been unfairly targeted going through the pandemic and even as we have moved through post-pandemic. And so through the Joyful Educator Collaborative, we want to host in-person meetings. I was joking the other day, we have an amazing Teacher Fest that NSNO did. Y'all, it was so fun. I was living my best life at Teacher Fest, okay? So if you think about Teacher Fest and scale it way down and make it monthly, and make it indoors, but still having fun, still being engaged, having a number of door prizes that teachers can win, and also having a component where their peers are supporting them. So we'll be pushing out an application at the end of this month for teachers to apply to be some of our rock star leads for this. And this is going to be a space where teachers can actually earn some additional funding as it relates to the support that they provide to other teachers and the planning that they'll do as it relates to the monthly convenings. And we're really excited to get started with this. My amazing executive office administrator, Elliot, he's in here somewhere, he's leading this work. And so he may be reaching out to you as well because we are going to need locations and partners for this. But I'm really super excited to announce one partner that has already fully committed to this. Larry Nance Jr. has agreed to sponsor the Joyful Educator Collaborative. And you can see the quote there from him. He reached out to me and he was concerned about school lunch. He wanted to know if that was a challenge. And I said, it's not our biggest challenge, but certainly I can give him more information if we have some spaces. I shared with him the fact that we needed to pour into our teachers. This upcoming year is the year of the teacher. And it's going to be a space and a time for us to really let our teachers know that they are valued. And I love the fact that Larry Nance Jr. gets that and that he's lending himself. He said he'll come to the convenings when he's in town. He will absolutely work with us on getting some great door prizes and even spaces for us to meet. He said that the Superdome or the Smoothie Center might be a great place. I agree. So really excited and grateful to Larry Nance Jr. for his partnership and what this can become. So those are the highlights of what we've done and what's to come. And it's been an incredible year. And I cannot emphasize enough how encouraged I am by the leadership that's here, the partnership that's here, and the support that you all have provided. So I want to reiterate just a few of the important accomplishments during this year. In 2021 school year, an impressive 79% of NOLA public schools received high letter grades for academic growth, earning either an A or B in growth. And I mentioned growth earlier, y'all. Growth matters because many of our scholars, they may come to us at a level that's below grade level proficiency or grade level mastery, but they're growing, and that's what we want. Overall, the school system maintained the letter grade of C, and I lift that up because the pandemic was rough, and you all know our community was hit especially hard because we also had Hurricane Ida during that same time frame. And despite the challenges, several different schools demonstrated significant growth, with 14 showing improvement in their school performance above the 2019 scores. And moreover, we're just proud to recognize schools that made that tremendous progress in terms of student growth, especially for our students who are the furthest away from opportunity. We had 7 schools that received top gain honorary recognitions, showing that they really lean into equity. And so we absolutely celebrate these wins, and we know we've got work to do, and I'm excited to be able to lead that work. Ultimately, our goal is to make sure that we're equipping our scholars with the essential tools that they need to forge bright futures and unlock their limitless potential. And I will continue to do this through equity, excellence, and joy, and with the support and dedication of this incredible community, and especially of the Orleans Parish School Board. Again, I am grateful to each and every one of you, and I look forward to what we can do collectively to continue to improve our school district. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll turn it over to Courtney.
All right, everybody. So we have concluded our press conference and State of Schools address. Please, again, you have been yays to your right. Do not make me take them home. I had to eat all of them last year during our ABC tour, and I cannot do that. I just got into this dress. But before we begin, you guys have something special that I hope you aren't sitting on, and I hope that you are ready to stand up and move a little bit. So go ahead and stand up for me. Get your handkerchiefs ready. And I'd like to welcome the Etna Carr Second Line Band. And Doc, you're going to lead us out. So this is a celebration. We are celebrating Dr. Williams. We are celebrating our scholars, our teachers, our staff. We are celebrating NOLA Public Schools. We are celebrating you. So thank you all so much for being here with us today. Well, they're coming.